everyone, welcome back to Poppin' In with Alexa and Molly. I'm Alexa.
I'm Molly.
And this week we have some fun topics. I've personally watched so many things. I've done nothing with my life recently, but just voyeur, if you will.
And I think we watched the same movie. Like, the only thing I've watched is the same movie that you watched.
I thought you were about to say,
and I did finish a show.
I think we watched the same movie. I was like, well, we were sitting next to each other in the theater, so we definitely did both watch it together. The first thing we want to get into is We Live in Time.
Yeah. Did you want me to say it at the same time as you?
No, but I was just like kind of looking at you with a sparkle in my eye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, we can do it. Ready?
Okay.
We live in time. Woo! So if you don't know, it's the kind of, would you say it's like a romantic drama?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. And basically it takes place in London, both of which I forget they are both British. Like,
I know. I expected, so actually, funny enough, I expected them to both have American accents in the movie.
Yeah.
I knew that, obviously I know they're both British, but they're both always playing American people.
Always. I actually, I think it was you who first told me that Florence Pugh was British. I was like, what?
Because she does the best American accent.
She does. Because a lot of, I think we've mentioned this before, but British people have, almost this nasally sound when they do an American accent.
And she does not do that.
No, she has kind of, a deeper voice, I think.
Yeah.
So
she does have a deep voice. Have you ever heard her, laugh?
No.
It's she does this, weird, not weird, but it's really, it's literally it's like a, I can't do it.
Okay, I see that for
Think
her.
of, if, a smoker was laughing, and
Yeah.
it's kind of that, bubbly laugh. You know what I'm saying? I can't think of what I'm trying to say.
I feel like her voice is so, soothing, though. She has a very even, I would love to just listen to a recording of her talk.
Yeah, she always just sounds, I'm back to the laugh, but, her laugh always sounds like she's coughing, if that makes sense. She's got, Wheezy in Toy Story, how he's got I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. She has a very interesting laugh. She also has an interesting cry.
Oh, yeah. I love her little frown.
The pout.
Yeah. She looks just like the emoji. Oh, shoot, what was I going to say? I just think, I just love her as an actress.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, you see, I was about to say these teeny boppers, thinking about, Jacob Elordi and Zendaya, we're all the same age. But, I just think of them as younger. But, for some reason, Florence Pugh feels, mature. Even though I love, Jacob Elordi and Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet. But Florence Pugh just always seems...
She seems much older than she is.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, one thing that I really love about her. But, so she stars alongside Andrew Garfield, and his British accent, not to get into British accents again, but it's so interesting because it feels very light. And, one time I was listening to him in an interview, and it almost sounded like he was going in and out of a British and American accent. I kept being oh, weird, this is British, now this is American.
Yeah.
But what just an absolute lovely grandpa of a man.
He is. When he had his little glasses on in the movie, I was like, ugh.
And he, had his legs crossed, and he was, taking notes, and I was just like, oh, I just want to, give you a little cardigan, and,
Yeah, I think we probably talked about it last week, but he makes me so emotional as a person. He's just so raw, and he really lets his vulnerabilities and emotions just, he just puts it out there. He doesn't care.
Yeah, I was looking at, moral philosophy books the other day, just, looking for some light reading.
Yeah.
And I was like, because he inspired me. I was like, I should think about philosophy more and, life or whatever.
Oh, well, we just went to a bookstore this weekend, and there was literally a section about, death, wasn't there?
Oh, the bookstore we went to. I thought you meant you and Matthew. I was like, wow, you went to another one?
No, I can only...
I was like, wow, big weekend.
Alexa took a really aesthetic picture of me in front of books, though.
Well, you had a really cute, Cher outfit. It's a bookstore. It's called Fallen Acorn Bookstore in downtown Williamsburg, if you ever go. Williamsburg, Virginia, not New York.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, also a very aesthetic, at least one.
But this one's better. Just kidding. I don't know. The thing is, I couldn't tell, what those sections were. It was, all fiction, but then,
it gave me anxiety. It was, it was, Molly's anxiety in, one shelf. But,
oh, yeah, the death shelf.
Yeah, it was, a death shelf. It was, a philosophical, thinking about death, which I was like, this is Alexa.
Absolutely.
If I ever saw it.
On Saturday, I, had a few too many drinks, and I just asked Chris, I was like, do you think you're a philosophical person? And he was like, what? And I said, I'm gonna go upstairs and get a hoodie. When I come back, let me know what you think the meaning of life is. And
we were talking about this because we were at brunch this weekend, and we were talking about it, and I was like, I don't understand that question. What do you mean, what is the meaning of life?
What's the point of it all?
Why does that... But does that mean, like, life in general, or just, like, your life? Like, sometimes I'll be like, why am I a person? Like, and I have that, like, kind of, like, little panic attack moment. But, like, I don't ever think about, like, why is their life? Like, it just is. I don't know.
I think both. Like, I think about, like, what's my purpose? And then I'm just like, is this some weird experiment that someone's doing? Or, like, is it just all arbitrary? Is it, you know what I mean? Where I'm just like, what's the point? And even if you're, like, very religious, like, they're, you know, like, most religions are like, God, like, made people, but it's like, why do you do it, you know? And, like, I can't answer that, I'm not God, but I think
because he was like, he would have been so bored and lonely. Like, that's what I'm like, what do you mean? I'm
picturing me as a child when, I don't know if I ever told you, I used to make dolls out of, like, old toilet paper rolls. That doesn't
surprise me whatsoever.
My mom still has all of them in a box in our attic, but it's just, like, me standing above, I'm not kidding, 50 toilet paper roll dolls, just being like...
That's so terrifying.
I am God. I know their purpose.
That was me, like, I had a basement when we lived in Colorado when I was little, and I had a bunch of, like, Barbie dolls that I just, like, I owned their storylines. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I came down, like, I pictured them being so afraid of me because I would come down every day, like, literally in the basement. Like, I would come downstairs and I'm like, who's ready to, like, play, like, hair salon or whatever? Like, all my little storylines in my head. Meanwhile, like, you are playing with toilet paper rolls. It's just so, like, I love it
my parents
so much.
Also, they bought me dolls.
No, I know that, but, like, you chose to play with toilet paper.
Yeah, and I would make little, like, circular paper dresses that I would, like, interchange in and out of.
So you're so creative.
Thank you. When I brought them to school, people told me this.
You brought them to school?
I did, I would put them, like, on my desk, like, as display. Almost like a Funko Pop type thing. And, like, the first time someone was like, what is...
Alexa thinks she invented Funko Pop.
I mean, basically, but they were just made out of toilet paper rolls, which, I mean, not as marketable. I'll be honest.
I would have bought them.
Thank you. But anyways, back to We Live in Time. We should say that we're going to say some spoilers about this movie before we get into it. If you haven't seen it, I think you should. I highly recommend it. I loved it, and it was, like, it was a tearjerker, yes, but I think it had a lot of depth. I think it had a lot of, like, funny moments. I thought it was just very well done. Yeah.
Can I give my opinion?
Yeah.
I think it kind of underwhelmed me a little bit.
Interesting.
I think it was very beautifully acted, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I wasn't super crazy about the storyline. Like, I feel like I expected more.
Interesting. Yeah. In what way? Like,
I didn't feel like, yes, I did get emotional at one point. I personally did not cry at the part that I could hear everybody else crying at, because you could literally hear the whole, like, theater, like, sniffling at one certain scene. I didn't think it was as emotional as I thought it was going to be.
I can see that. The thing is, for me, it wasn't emotional, like, heavy tearjerker emotions throughout, but I think it, like, built to, like, both the part that you were kind of crying at and then the part that I was crying at, you know? And I think, like, that's a tearjerker to me. Like, I don't want to be crying every 10 minutes, but I want, like, the end to be, like, a satisfying, like, I'm shedding a few tears type of thing.
Yeah.
There's also nothing more embarrassing than being, like, in a film that's potentially a tearjerker and, like, having allergies. Because I remember at one point, like, I was sitting there, I was, like, rubbing my eyes, they were so itchy, and I was like, Molly's gonna think I'm bawling my eyes out. She's gonna think I'm such a loser.
Why would I think you're a loser at a movie where you're, like, supposed to cry?
It was, like, during scenes where nothing was happening. They're just, like, at dinner and I'm crying.
I think I was the only one crying at the part that I cried at, and I didn't hear anybody else sniffling.
Yeah, but I think it was a nice part. So, to give a little bit of context, so basically... It goes, like, kind of, jumps around, like, the timeline a little bit between Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield's, their character's relationship. And the whole thing is, like, he works for, I don't know, some cereal company doing some accounting or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. She is a professional chef. That's important to know. But there's this whole, like, underlying thing where she is just very much, like, a go-getter. Like, she is a type A whatever. So I think that kind of, like, plays into her personality. And they meet because she hits him with her car, and then they start, like, dating and seeing each other, and they kind of, they never get married. We never see, like, that's a whole thing for them, but it shows, like, the beginning of their relationship is kind of, like, fraught, I think, a little bit, because he wants to have kids, and she doesn't really want to have kids, and he's just coming off of a divorce, and she's just kind of, like, you know, but they have, like, that instant chemistry from the beginning that I think is really sweet, and I also loved seeing kind of, like, the difficulties in their relationship outside of again, spoiler alert, but I think this is in the trailer, like she gets diagnosed with cancer, but they have difficulties in the beginning too, because in the first scene, she's kind of like walking around their beautiful cottage home. Like,
yeah, it looked like something from like The Hobbit or something.
I think I turned to you like 3 times throughout that movie, and I was just like, I fucking loved it.
It was just like an English like cottage, like if you can picture that.
It was lovely. But the first scene, she's kind of like walking through, and she's a chef, so she's like picking out stuff from the garden. He's asleep, and she brings him like a bowl of something where she's like, taste this, and he's like, oh, it tastes good, and it feels like too idyllic. So I'm glad they went back and showed like kind of like the arguments that they've had, and the difficulties, like that their relationship, while being lovely, is not perfect.
Yeah, I felt like it was very real. I guess I wanted to see a little bit more depth with their relationship. I felt like it was a little rushed. Like I felt like we got too much into the difficulties, and I don't feel like, obviously they have chemistry as actors and the characters like had chemistry, but I didn't feel super invested in their relationship.
Yeah, I think there were certain things that were interesting, like at certain points it felt like he was more invested than she was, which I also, this is very anti-feminist, I don't know, of me, where if there's a romance, I always like it better when the guy
is more into the girl.
Yes, or he's interested first or whatever.
Yeah.
Like whenever I watch a show and I'm just like, oh, she really, like, I'm never drawn in by like, oh, she has a huge crush on him.
Yeah, and she's like obsessed with him or whatever. I want the guy chasing after the girl, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm the same way.
But so I think like it sometimes felt like he was more invested in their relationship than she was. Like, for example, they have this huge fight where he asks her, like, and they've been seeing each other, it seems like, for like a month or so. You know, like, they seem pretty, like, serious. And he's like, you know, do you think you could ever have, like, see yourself having children? You know, because I know, like, we're getting to that point or whatever. And I love...
Well, she had mentioned earlier that she didn't think she would want to have kids. And so later on he brings it up. He's like, hey, I am at the age where, like, I'm worried about not having kids. So, like, we kind of need to figure this out now. Like, are you really in this, you know, because I don't want to, like, waste your time, basically.
Yeah. And I do love the line, she's like, I'm 34, I'm not fucking 50 or something like that. Which is true, but also I think her reaction to his question was awful.
I'm like, you have to understand where he's coming from with that. Like, but I also did appreciate that because I think so many times women feel like their clock is ticking, and so I did appreciate her being like, I'm 34, like, I've got time, you know, like, I'm not ancient. I also felt, even though we just got done saying that Florence Pugh seems older than she is, I did feel like, I was like, I don't know how believable it is that they would have a kid that age, because even Andrew Garfield's 40, but he looks a lot younger than that, and obviously Florence Pugh is, you know, in her 20s. I wasn't really buying that, I guess.
Yeah, I think, like, because you see later on, their kid is probably, like, what, 5 or 6? Yeah. Or whatever. And so they do seem pretty young, and they don't seem, she doesn't seem super connected to the kid. Yeah. Even though, like, she seems, like, she says she is. She vocalizes it, but doesn't really feel that way. And also, it kind of confused me where... So, in the beginning, like, they have this whole argument about, like, not wanting to have kids, and then he comes back, and I will say props to him, where, like, he's like, you know, I still really like you, but I do feel like the way that you answered my question was rude, and he says it in front of all of her friends, and she's kind of like, okay, you're right, which props to him, but then, so they are together, like, they're starting their life together, she finds out that she has ovarian cancer, and her options are, she could do a hysterectomy, and, like, pull out all of everything. You all know what a hysterectomy is, so I don't know why I had to describe that. Or she could remove one of her ovaries and keep the other one, but there's a potential, like, chance of relapse. And she says, she's like, well, I would like to keep one of my cancerous ovaries because, like, maybe, like, we could have kids one day and maybe I would like to have them with you. And it's interesting because they never, like, talk about that shift in her mind until it's like she has... this decision in front of her, which get.
Which makes that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I just I guess I would just say overall I felt like it just felt like they, first of all, I actually think the movie could have been a little longer. It was a pretty short movie. Yeah. So I just didn't feel like we developed that much time with these characters.
Yeah. And there
before they put such a serious traumatic situation in front of us, you know what I mean?
And I think you're just supposed to believe in, like, the chemistry, I think, is really doing a lot for their relationship, like, the chemistry between the actors of holding up, like, their relationship. But also there are times, like, I love Florence Pugh, but her character was really pissing me off for the same reasons I think it pissed off Andrew Garfield's character. So she eventually relapses, and again, their daughter is probably, like, 5 or 6 at this time, and she's starting to go through chemo, and she kind of asked him in the beginning, she's like, what if I had, like, 6 really shitty months of, like, chemotherapy and radiation or whatever, and she was like, or I could just have 6 really good months of finishing out my life.
Yeah.
And so she eventually does decide to do the chemo, but it's this whole thing where the same day that she gets re-diagnosed, her old boss texts her and asks her if she wants to do, it's essentially like the Olympics for chefs.
Yeah.
And she tells her husband, Andrew Garfield, she's not going to do it because obviously she's going to be going through treatment and, like, whatever. And then she's doing it behind his back for so long.
Yeah.
And I think
it's a very active thing. Like, she's moving around a lot. Like, it's not good for her body, too.
And it's, like, hours and hours on top of being, like, owning a restaurant and, like, being a chef, hours and hours every week that they have to practice and do whatever. It is like training for the Olympics, but as a chef. And so you can see her, like, kind of throwing up while she's doing it, like, having, like, side effects or whatever. And then eventually she forgets to pick up her daughter because she's training for it. So she has to tell Andrew Garfield, and he is rightfully very angry.
Yeah.
Because A, like, that is a big lie to keep for a long time. And B, he's like, you are currently going through treatment. Like, it can't be good for you to be exhausting yourself.
Well, and that's where I'm kind of like, the kid thing, I was just like, I feel like in most situations, the parent would have put their, like, I think in those situations, and from what I've heard from real people who have been in these situations, they're most worried about their children. They're thinking, like, about the future of their kids. And I just felt like that's where I was like, I don't feel like she has much of a connection with her kid, because she wouldn't have been putting, like, her, I'm not saying she wouldn't have been putting her career first, but I just feel like I'd feel like she wasn't thinking about her daughter at all.
Yeah, which again, people will argue, like, if a man did the same thing, people wouldn't see it as, like, as bad, but I'm here to say, like, you should, because she makes going back, Florence Pugh makes the argument to Andrew Garfield. She's like, well, I want my daughter to remember me, like, not as being, like, sickly or whatever, but as someone, like, who did something. And he's like, well, how is she supposed to remember you like that if we don't know you're even doing it? Which is a good line. But also, I'm like, okay, your daughter's 5 or 6 years old. She doesn't know really probably what you're doing. Like,
I know.
She doesn't understand the context. If it were me, like, I would appreciate, like, my mom spending
the time with me. Having memories of, like, her being with me. Yeah. I also thought about it, and I was like, is it really that? Like, as a kid, I wouldn't be like, my mom won the chef. Like, I guess it was cool. Like, I don't know. I didn't really think it was, I don't know.
Yeah. But, like, that goes back to her whole, like, what I was saying in the beginning, like, type A driven personality, where, like, it's revealed to her. So she actually does have, like, kind of this history of lying to Andrew Garfield's character, where when they meet their families for the first time, they're like, yeah, she was a competitive figure skater. Like, she made it to, like, the world championships of figure skating.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield's like, what? Like, you've never mentioned this before, which is crazy. Like, imagine if Matthew told you right now he made it to the world championship of figure skating and, like, he had never mentioned it. That is, like, clearly a huge chunk of,
they hadn't been dating that long. That's what kind of got me with that. I was like, well, I mean, she just hadn't brought it up yet. They hadn't been dating that long.
But, like, hadn't brought it up yet? You know what I mean? Like, that had to be her entire childhood. Like, you're almost an Olympic figure skater.
For some reason, like, I remember during that scene, I was thinking, I'm like, I don't think it's that big of a deal that she didn't tell him. Like, I don't know. I was kind of like, I'm sure it would have come up eventually, but
I guess.
Maybe. I know it was supposed to be, like...
Yeah.
And then the other thing with that is, it's like, I guess we can give the ending away, because, again, spoiler alert, like, we're talking about what's happening. But at the end, she wins the... She won, right? She won the contest, the chef contest.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes up and, like, instead of, like, you know, taking in all the fact that she won, she goes up and takes Andrew Garfield and their daughter, and, like, they exit the building, and it's, like, supposed to be this, like, beautiful moment. And she takes them ice skating. And I guess this is what I mean. I felt nothing when I watched that scene. Like, I wasn't like, wow. Yeah. Like, I wasn't, like, teary-eyed. I wasn't, like, super emotional over that. I just was kind of like, okay.
I think I was emotional because I knew, like, it was going to be probably the last scene of them together, because they do this thing where she's like literally skates to the other side of the rink and she's just like waving at them, so it's like obvious what they're doing. And then I think I started crying because it was showing them after, again, spoiler alert, she has passed away, and they're like going to get like the chicken eggs, and he's like teaching her how to like break the eggs just like their mom did or whatever. And I think I said to you, it reminds me of the scene in About Time when, this is a spoiler for that, but like it's my favorite scene, when like the main character like goes back in time and he like relives this last moment with his dad, and it's just them walking on the beach together, and like I'm gonna cry like just talking.
That actually sounds very emotional. For some reason I don't know this, and again I have complicated feelings about this movie because I do think it was very, like I said, beautifully acted. There was like, you know, there was some really impactful scenes, don't get me wrong. But I guess I didn't really feel that much from it that I've felt from like other movies. But I think when something is like jammed down my throat of like, it's going to make you cry, there was not a dry eye in the theaters. Like when people, for some reason, I think that takes me out of it because I'm like, okay, now I'm expecting it. And then when I'm not, then I'm kind of disappointed. But I also think I need to stop watching so many interviews with actors before the movie, because I think like their interviews together are very funny. They have like very good chemistry in real life. And so I was like, I had already seen all that, and then seeing the movie, I felt like I was kind of underwhelmed. Yeah. I guess that's what I would just say overall about the movie, was I felt a little underwhelmed by it.
Like those interviews, they're going to try to like hype you up for it and stuff, you know, and they're going to be like, it's the scariest movie you'll ever see. And then you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
If you don't see it, then you're probably like, yeah, that was like, you know.
Yeah, and I think I might just be a soulless person because I really don't get that emotional over movies. And if I do, it's like over like weird parts that other people aren't as affected. So the part that I got emotional over was like literally she gives birth in a gas station. Yeah. And it was the acting was very good. I felt like I was bathroom. Yeah. She's in labor, but they're stuck in traffic. So she like wanders from the car and goes into a gas station. She accidentally gets locked into a bathroom. Or no, she locks herself in the bathroom, but she won't open the door. So then they have to like bust down the door. And the gas station employees are like helping. And it was just like so beautiful to me. I was like,
I think it was a really sweet moment, but I think like I said
it was gross, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't cry because I was just thinking about giving birth on a gas station bathroom floor. Yeah. I honestly would rather die. Like, that sounds horrific.
It kind of reminded me of, did you ever watch The Office?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how Jim and Pam, who have gone through this long, like, history, they're finally, like, you know, they're finally together. The way that he proposes to her is at a gas station.
Oh, yeah. I remember
getting so mad by that. I was like, why? That's not even cute.
Everyone thought it was, like, so romantic.
No,
like,
it's not. I'd be pissed. I'd be like, try again.
Yeah, because he just, like, shows up. I'm like, no. I don't know. I think, like, the way, the lead up to Jim and Pam's relationship is, like, so romantic. Like, whatever. And then once they are kind of finally together. Yeah. It just is, like, I don't really, I guess, not care about it. Like, they didn't really do a lot with it.
No, and then they end up getting like almost divorced at the end. Like I was just like,
and then like not or whatever. But
anyway.
But yeah, I think there are some really beautiful scenes. I liked there was a parallel, and I don't know if you caught this, but like between Andrew Garfield's dad talking. I love the scene. I started tearing up. He was talking about Andrew Garfield's character's mom, and it's the way he's talking about her, it's clear like she has passed away. But, you know, he's saying, like, when they first started dating, and he's like, you know, like, I want to do, like, a wedding, like, have the big whole thing or whatever. And she's like, well, we don't have to have, like, a huge wedding. She was like, I already know how I want to spend my life. I want to do every day with you. Like, we can just go to a courthouse. And it's just, like, the sweetest thing. You know, I think him and his dad are very sweet together.
Yeah, I thought I did like that.
But then they talk about, like, Florence Pugh's character doesn't talk about her being a, like, world-class ice skater because it's, like, her dad had trained her, and I guess he passed away too, and when he did, she said it just made her feel sad to keep doing it every time, so she just kind of stopped. Yeah. And I like that they had those parallels. I think it was very nice, and I think it's very good for Andrew Garfield to play this role because, again, he is, like, very much astute in emotions and grief, etc. I thought it was a lovely movie. I think it was very good.
I think it was good. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it sounds like I hated it, but I just think I was underwhelmed by it.
There's also something very cozy about Britishness that I just like.
Again, I was not expecting them. I thought it was an American. Like, I wasn't expecting them to be British in the movie.
Yeah. I think, also I loved her style throughout it. Like, I think Florence Pugh is so interesting to look at. Like, she just has a really good face.
She does. I also really appreciate that she has a very athletic build. Yeah. But she also has, like, to me, like, a realistic body.
Yeah.
And I've always really appreciated that about her.
She has, like, soft, round features. But, like, she has, like, it's her eyes. She has very, like, dark, serious eyes, you know?
Yeah.
But, I just love looking at her. I loved the movie. I would recommend it. Again, who knows if you'll cry, but I think there were...
You probably will. I'm just kind of a soulless human. Like, I feel like I don't...
You are not soulless,
But though. I don't really get... Like, I don't get emotional over things that most people do.
What's a movie that you've cried at?
Every Greta Gerwig movie I've ever seen.
I was gonna say Little Women. I always think, like, I cried during the theaters.
I remember one that sticks out to me was Lady Bird, because I wasn't expecting it, and I remember, like, there was, like, a point in Lady Bird where I started crying, and I literally did not stop the whole rest of the movie. Like, it made me so emotional. And it, again, like, it's not really sad. It just, like, for some reason, it just really moved me. And then Barbie, there's scenes in Barbies that, or in Barbie that really move me. And it's, like, super weird, but it just does. So for some reason, Greta Gerwig really taps into that.
Yeah,
I've noticed for me.
I think she is my favorite writer-director. Like, if Greta Gerwig is putting out a film, I'll be there. Yeah. I don't care what it is. It could literally be, like, Hot Wheels in 3D. Made by Greta Gerwig.
She's making Chronicles of Narnia.
I'll be there.
I will definitely be there.
I've already bought my ticket.
I will be there hesitantly.
Really? Why?
Because I love the original movie stuff, like James McAvoy.
Yeah, I do too. It's interesting. I feel like none of those child actors, like, really did much.
I had the biggest crush on Edmund. Was that his name? I loved him.
Well, what's interesting also in the books is, like, Susan's character, who I thought she was beautiful when I was 10 years old. Like, literally my 5th grade class, like, rented out a movie theater. That was our field trip, and we went to go see it because it was, like, our big 5th grade read. But in the other books, if I remember correctly, they basically, like, Susan falls to the wayside basically because it's, like, she becomes interested in boys, and they kind of allude to the fact of her being a little bit of a whore, and, like, that's why she's, like, because it's all about Lucy and Peter is the oldest brother.
I know you think I'm talking about Peter. I'm talking about Edmund.
You had it on the Turkish Delight Boy?
Yeah.
Why? He screwed over his whole family.
I wasn't talking about his personality. I just thought he was cute.
He is cute. And I think, like, him and the little girl, Lucy, I think they look
She related. Was so cute.
She was. She's actually in the show The Diplomat.
Oh, so she's acting still.
But it's the only thing I've seen her in. Like, it has, what's her face from The Waitress? It's actually very good. I watched the first season with my mom. But it just came out. Second season came out. But she's in it. She plays, like, thank you. She plays one of the, I don't know, people. One of the public relations, whatever.
I bet she's
British
so
people.
Beautiful.
But anyways, I will be seeing that. I will be seeing, and the thing is, I feel like I'm getting to this age, and we were talking about this with Harry Potter, where, like, it's like, why are we making these remakes? But also, you know, for a younger audience, like, if I were 10 years old right now, and you told me that a movie came out in 2005, that would be insane to me.
I actually disagree with that take.
Interesting.
Because I know we've talked about it before, and I'm always kind of like, I see what you're saying, but I also think, like, 2005, like, yes, it was kind of a long time ago, but, like, it was a great movie. I don't think it needs to. I'll still watch it because it's Greta Gerwig. I'm sure it will be good, but just your point of, like, the newer generation wants to see a newer version. I don't know why that would be necessary. You know?
I guess it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like, a comparable movie for, like, our generation.
Like, I guess in some ways, I'm going back and forth. I kind of see what you're saying, because I think back to, like, very old movies, and then it's, like, exciting when it gets, like, a remake with, like, an actor that we really like or whatever. But at the same time, with Harry Potter, I guess specifically, I'm like, that wasn't that long ago. Like, I feel like people, like, kids that are shown it now, I don't see how they could really and I don't even like Harry Potter movies. I don't see how they could top Harry Potter movies, you know?
The thing is, so it was 24 years ago. So, like, Harry Potter, the film, can legally drink and almost rent a car.
But it's just, to me, it, like, stands the test of time.
Yeah.
It's so, so I feel like I don't see them needing to remake that.
Also, it's money grabs, too. Like,
yeah, that bothers me,
Harry Potter, it bothers me, too.
That's not an answer.
The thing is, Hollywood does not enjoy original IP. You know, we're always constantly remaking things, redoing things, because they know people are going to see it. And I'm like, well, give me something new to love.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'll be seeing Chronicles of Narnia and watching the new Harry Potter. So
I'm more just curious how she's going to do that.
Yeah. I am always curious how she's going to do things, because even with Little Women, I thought she did it very interestingly. I hope she puts...
That was beautiful. That is a beautiful movie.
Saoirse
Ronan. Yeah. Maybe she'll play the White Witch.
Interesting. I could see her as Aslan.
Did you ever see the actual, like, or did you ever see the other movies in the series? See, I never did.
That's one thing. So I don't know if she's just doing The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe or all of them, but I hope they do all of them, because there's so many books in that series that are, I don't think they're as good maybe as The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe in terms of like drawing in children or whatever, but I think like in terms of fantasy and stuff and like world building, it's really interesting.
Surprised they didn't just make it a series. Because there's so many books. I think, like, so the Magician's Nephew? The Magician's Nephew, I read the book, and I remember just being like, this is not as good as Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I don't think they even made a movie out of that. The Magician's Nephew felt very much like a Paulo Coelho novel. I hope I'm saying, who he wrote The Alchemist, where it feels very much like a folk tale. I think. And that's what I liked about it when I was younger. I liked Horse and His Boy. Wait, is that the right... That doesn't sound familiar, but you might be right. I didn't read the rest of them, so.
Yes. The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, I really liked. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader was okay. They introduced, like, the thing is, that pisses me off is because, like, so the original children kind of fall out because they're getting older, but Lucy's still there, and like it's like Lucy and Edmund are still there, and then it's just Lucy or whatever, and then they introduce their weird annoying cousin at one point.
Is that the one that ends up being Prince Caspian, or is that Will Poulter? Because remember Will Poulter was in those movies.
Oh yeah, no, he doesn't. I don't think he ends up. Prince Caspian is like an actual person that like lives there. Oh, okay. I believe. It's been a really long time since I read them, so like don't quote me on that. But I'm very curious to see it, you know?
I know. How did we get on that topic at all?
I literally don't know.
I don't know either.
Listening back will be very interesting.
We just went on like a 10-minute tangent about the Chronicles of Narnia. Like, no one asked.
No one asked what we said, but we told them. But in other news, Grammy nominations came out this week.
Yeah, which, by the way, it always comes as a surprise. I'm not ever... like waiting for them.
I also was like, didn't they just happen? I forgot the VMAs that just happened. Yeah, the thing is, I'm not as excited for the Grammys as I am for like the Oscars or the Emmys.
But I think the way that we get confused between like the VMAs and the Grammys is how other people get confused. They're like, wasn't the Oscars just on? And it's like, that was the Golden Globes. Like, I think it's all just confusing.
What you're interested in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but so, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see, like, who wins certain things. I mean, it was definitely, for the pop culture girlies, they were popping off. I think it's, Sabrina Carpenter. Actually, let me pull up. I have the list of, like, who got nominated for what.
Well, the one category was all women, and I was super excited about that.
I think, was it Album of the Year?
No, it was either pop song or pop singer.
Yeah, but so I think it's interesting. The category of Record of the Year I think is really interesting. So it's Now and Then, the Beatles, which is such a weird thing that they made. I listen to them advertise it like every morning on NPR, where basically is like a new song or new record with like unreleased like vocals.
That doesn't sound like fair.
No, it doesn't. It like you're going up against the Beatles.
I was gonna say, well, but the thing is, they won't win, and that's what's so crazy. Is like, let's just say Sabrina Carpenter wins. It's like, imagine being Sabrina Carpenter knowing you beat the Beatles.
Yeah,
like that's crazy.
Imagine sitting there, giving your acceptance speech, and Paul McCartney's just in the crowd.
He's just like,
yeah, he's like, wow, you won for Please, Please, Please. I have my dead friends on this song. You know what I mean? Like. Anyways, so it's also Texas Hold'em by Beyonce, and she got like I think a record of 11 nominations. Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, 360 by Charlie XCX, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar, Good Luck Babe, Chappell Roan, and Fortnite, which is Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone. I'll be honest, I have not even heard of that song.
Yeah.
But maybe I just need to like actually hear it. I think this will
You've probably seen the like music video. Like you've probably seen the visuals, I guess.
I am like really bad unless it's like I know Birds of a Feather because like Birds of a Feather, like she says it and like I just hear that little whatever. But I think it'll be very interesting.
That's a pretty good category, I will say.
What are your predictions? What do you think?
My predictions? Not like I don't think it would win though, but
actually I don't think it would win because of the controversy of it winning. But I think maybe 360.
I don't think it would not win because of a controversy. I just think it would be overlooked by all the others.
Yeah.
Do you really think 360 should win though, honestly?
I mean, it was pretty... So when they say record of the year, is it just that song?
Record, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, then never mind. I take it back. I think maybe... Okay.
I just sometimes...
I don't think... I'll be honest, I don't think Texas Hold'em should win. I thought it was good, but I don't think it was, like, the best out of this category. I think maybe Good Luck, Babe.
Yeah, I do... I foresee Chappell Roan winning a lot.
Yeah, or...
I mean, my favorite is Espresso, but I don't think Espresso will win.
I don't think Birds of a Feather should win. I'll be honest, I didn't really, like, jive that much with this new album from Billie Eilish. Like, most of the songs were fine. I liked Lunch. That was pretty much it. But those are the two that stand out to me.
It's funny because I don't think Good Luck Babe is Chappell Roan's
most iconic,
so it's kind of weird to me that one's nominated, but I think that might end up winning.
I think it's not her most... It's not my favorite by her. I love Red Wine Supernova, but it's a lot of people love that one. That's
they do.
Too. But that'll be interesting. I think Album of the Year will also be interesting. New Blue Sun is Andre 3000's completely flute instrumental album that got nominated, and apparently it was good. People liked it.
Sure, yeah.
Short and Sweet, I think.
And Cowboy Carter, Beyonce.
Yeah, sorry. It's Cowboy Carter, Beyonce, Short and Sweet, Sabrina Carpenter, Brat, Charlie XCX. I think Brat has a good, what do you call it, like, chance of winning. Just, like, it was so iconic, so impactful. I don't even know how to say this. DeJessie by Jacob Collier.
Jesse,
Volume 4. Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billie Eilish. I don't think that'll win. The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess, Chappell Roan, I think has a good chance.
I just am really seeing Chappell Roan winning. Yeah. And then the Tortured Poets Department
by Taylor Swift.
Which...
It could win, but I would be surprised because I'm, like, not a huge Swiftie, but a lot of, like, people I know have said it's not their favorite album by her by far.
Yeah.
So I would be surprised.
I'm going to go with either Short and Sweet or The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess.
Okay, I think those are good. I'm going to say, just to shake it up, I'm going to say Brat because I love it. And
I mean, that's a huge
The Rise
possibility.
And Fall of the Midwest Princess as well. Okay, I want to talk about best...
Oh, wait, can you go to Song of the Year? I don't want to read through it. I just want to see. So which is the one where it's, like, all women? It's, like, pop. I think it's pop.
Yeah.
We need to find it because it was literally all women.
But I want to talk about Best New Artist. So it's Benson Boone, Sabrina Carpenter, Doechii.
Sabrina Carpenter is not a new artist, though.
Neither is Chappell Roan. Chappell Roan, this is, like, her second or third album. This is
Sabrina Carpenter's, like, sixth.
Yeah.
So... it's Chappell Roan's third album?
I swear I thought she had another album because I always see a different cover on it, but interesting. But I don't even know, when did it come out?
Well, it had to have come out this year or 2023. So it would be...
Yeah, because I remember her in an interview saying she was like, you know, this album came out like a year or so ago.
That's a new artist, though.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but like they always
like 2023 is very new.
Yeah.
I think so. All of these are things that came out in 2020. Well, that wouldn't make sense though, because Sabrina Carpenter's songs came out this year, didn't they?
Yeah, her album did.
I'm confused.
I'm gonna pour some wine while we're processing. We're drinking. Oh, it says "Love Y'all."
I know. I just loved the like label of it.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
And I love a good Moscato. Yeah, please.
Yeah, pour me up. So I think that's interesting. Best.
Should I just do the rest?
It's best pops. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm doing it.
It's best pop solo performance is all women.
Yeah.
So it's Bodyguard by Beyonce. Say that 5 times fast. Espresso, Sabrina Carpenter, Apple, Charlie XCX, Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish, and Good Luck Babe, Chappell Roan. I think Chappell Roan will probably win. I don't even know Beyonce's Bodyguard, so I wasn't super into her recent album.
But it's the first time I feel like where I know all of the...
Yeah, and let's go, girls. I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
The women are bringing back pop.
I know. I'm so loving the resurgence of pop singers.
Yeah.
I just am so pleased with
every year I make a playlist that's just 2024 or 2023. Usually it's very heavy rap, R&B, and some pop and some random stuff. And this year I was it's primarily women.
Yeah.
And it's poppy, not bubblegum songs, but I'm having
but
fun.
It's it's just it's for the girls, and I just
I love things that are for the girls, as girls ourselves.
Girlhood.
Yeah.
That's that.
But we'll see what happens. I don't even know when the Grammys are.
I feel like very lost with that. Yeah, again, I didn't even know.
Meanwhile, the Oscars, we had it like on our calendar like 3 months in advance.
I have a good question for you though.
Okay.
So I just saw that the well, by the time this episode comes out, the People's Sexiest Man Alive will have come out. And I don't know if people even care about that anymore.
We do.
I care. I told y'all I literally signed up for people to vote on the little categories. I couldn't vote on Sexiest Man Alive, but it was like the different categories.
Yeah.
And so they're going to release the Sexiest Man Alive tomorrow. Who do you think it'll be? Like if you had to guess, who would you say?
Maybe Pedro Pascal?
I was going to say the same thing. So I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be because they always choose some irrelevant ass old man.
Who's
always
in the running? Who's in the running? Well, also,
or not always. Like they had like Michael B. Jordan one year, but like
ever since the Blake Shelton
exactly,
thing, I just don't trust it.
It's always I could see it being Travis Kelce.
Oh, what?
Okay. I kind of am thinking that now. I don't think they have nominees.
Okay.
So they don't do like nominees for like Sexiest Man Alive, I don't think.
Interesting.
It's like the different categories. So like Sexiest Handyman.
Oh, so the Sexiest long-haired, married star.
Long-haired. I voted for Ted Danson for that, and he didn't win.
Jen's Sexiest? Okay. First of all, who wrote this?
And then it's random, like they've got like Matt Dillon. Like what?
Yeah, that's...
And then they've got this category, which I don't care about.
This is interesting.
Okay, this one I got mad about. Sexiest Fierro. I voted for Aaron Tveit.
Which one
Where are my little Tveit girls? If that's even how you say his name.
I knew that would be
I love him so much. I saw him in Moulin Rouge, and it was like the best experience of my life.
I think like your taste in like movie men is kind of sometimes similar to mine, where I feel like you are not like a macho movie man kind of guy.
No.
Like you like a little bit like of an effeminate type of thing, where they're not feminine, but they aren't like you would never be like Zac Efron, like I'm gonna like foam at the mouth or whatever.
I'm not into like you're like super muscular.
Yeah. You like men who people would paint, I think.
Yes,
I think that's a good description.
Yeah. But anyway, Aaron didn't even win. It was Jonathan Bailey, which like obviously Jonathan Bailey's hot, but like Aaron Tveit.
Interesting. I would say Pedro Pascal, but who knows? If it's
gonna be someone
Travis Kelce, I'm gonna lose my mind.
But I don't even know if it will. Like, I think it'll be somebody who's like not relevant. Like, I remember last year. No offense, but last year it was like Patrick Dempsey, and I'm like, what?
Are we still talking about him?
Exactly. I was like, where did this come from?
It's because I think the people who read People magazine, no shade to People, but are like older, so they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this guy from the early 2000s, we still think he's hot as shit. Who's
voting on it actually? Because I don't know.
Also, did they have a Sexiest Woman Alive?
No.
And the thing is, they shouldn't. You know,
it does feel like it feels kind of gross.
Yeah, but like, let's do that to men. Like, I'm fine with like objectifying men that way. You know. Unless they pull stupid people like Blake Shelton.
Has Ryan Gosling ever won? Because I could also see him winning this year.
No, but he should win. He is a Renaissance man. Truly, through and through.
I still kind of feel like I'd be disappointed if he won, though. I want it to be Pedro Pascal.
The thing is, I think Pedro Pascal is very handsome. I think Ryan Gosling...
he's more obviously handsome.
Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like his personality, too, but I also like Pedro Pascal's personality.
Ryan Gosling has never won People's Sexiest Man Alive.
Wow. I bet he sits at home and he's like, that's the one award I haven't gotten. You know what I mean?
He's probably I feel like he would hate that award.
Yeah, that's true. He would just be like, I actually don't want this. Like, he just, like, breaks the award, like, in Mean Girls. Like, crap.
Yeah.
Oh, which also I was going to tell you, Chris watched Mean Girls for the first time this weekend.
For the first time?
Yes, he's always like, well, I've seen parts of it, so I've basically seen it. And I'm like, you got to watch the whole movie. He loved it, of course.
Yeah. And also, it's so funny. Like, it's not so really funny. A chick flick to me because it's just so funny. I was
watching it
not
back,
that
I'm
chick
like...
flicks can't be funny, but... Sorry.
We hate women. No, I'm just kidding.
I felt like it came out wrong.
Also, I was like telling him, I was like, watching it back, I think it might be a perfect movie.
It is. It's for the longest time I said it was my favorite movie.
Like the tone, the jokes, and I was telling him, I was like, the thing is, what really struck people, I think, is it felt very realistic to the lived experience. You know, like it's obviously a parody and an over dramatized, but I'm like, also certain things are like not that crazy.
And again, like that's why I made it, like it's genuinely so funny.
Yeah. It's such a good movie. I love it.
It is kind of a perfect
Say crack
movie.
again. Crack. Like, I was literally quoting most of the movie while it was playing. I was like, I've probably
Janet,
seen this 40 times.
She's like, your mom's chest hair.
Yeah.
She just continues talking.
God, what a movie. But also, so...
Anyway, expect an angry text from me tomorrow. When the people's sexiest, I feel like you're gonna get an angry text from me.
We'll be talking about it next week, so stay tuned. But also, like, speaking of music, Chappell Roan split from her management, and the thing about Chappell Roan is she seems to just be upset about everything all the time. Yeah. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Mm-hmm. And so she got mad because her management was state-of-the-art management. Her manager was Nick Bobetsky. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So Billboard posted a photo to their Instagram of Chappell Roan, and it was to promote their article, and it was about her firing her management. And she just commented on it. She goes, y'all suck for this. And I saw people, like, kind of screenshotting that and, like, the internet dialogue. People were like, why? Like, they're just reporting on a thing that you did. Like, this is literal news.
What do you think, if she does win a Grammy, what do you think her acceptance speech is going to be like? Because a part of me thinks it's going to be, and I'm sorry for any, like, huge Chappell Roan fans. Again, I'm a huge fan of her music. I am separating the art from the artist, because I'll be honest with you, I actually find her personality to be, at this point, kind of insufferable.
Yeah.
And again, I'm all for people putting up boundaries, but at this point, I do think it's like, what are you not mad about?
Here's my thing.
You're always mad about something.
Boundaries at the sake of blatant rudeness.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're like, yes, boundaries, but are you putting up boundaries, or are you just using that as an excuse to be rude to people?
Yeah, and also just sometimes, I'm not saying you have to accept everything, but it's just like, but I will say, I said recently, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, I was like, who is she? Like, because I always say she seems to kind of act on this, like, level as if she's been famous for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, who does she think she is, Stevie Nicks? And then Matthew was telling me that he saw somewhere the other day that, like, I guess, or somebody said this, I think it was Matthew, told me that, like, Stevie Nicks was like, oh, good for her, that I'm glad that she's, like, saying all this. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Yeah.
And the thing is, again, like, I appreciate, like, demanding respect.
Yes.
Like, you know, like, respect isn't necessarily earned. It is earned, but you also should just give people respect. But also, it's the way she's going about it that I think is just, like, incredibly abrasive. But I will say, like, people, you know, the whispers in the crowd are always just like, do you think she's gonna get canceled? I think she's gonna get even more popular because she's still making headlines, you know? Like, I think it's almost like the way Lady Gaga, like, became known for her Lady Gaga stuff. I think Chappell Roan's gonna become known for being, like, this kind of Gen Z, like, I don't know, not social warrior, but almost, like, or verbiage warrior.
Yes, I wonder if, like, we're just old now, because I feel like when Lady Gaga was kind of like that, or just sort of pushing back on, you know, the norm or whatever. Yeah. I feel like I thought it was cool, like, as a kid, like, because I was, like, in middle school or whatever when it happened. But maybe because, and I'm reflecting on myself.
Yeah.
Maybe because Chappell Roan is younger, I'm kind of, like, looking down on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I agree. Like, what you were saying, some of it just feels abrasive to me. And it's interesting because when I see it on, like, when I see people talking about it on Twitter, I do see a lot of people saying, like, okay, she's got to, like, chill.
Yeah.
But then I see a lot of people sticking up for her and being like, yes, I love that about her. But I will say, I feel like the majority of people that you talk to in person about her are all on the same page of, like, what is, like,
yeah,
it's too much, you know?
Yeah, because again, like, I think even with the Lady Gaga stuff, like, I remember people who were older being like, well, it's going to distract from her music. Like, that's all she's going to be known for. And it's like, okay, she's going to be wealthy and famous.
Yeah.
But I think, like, Chappell Roan became very famous very quickly, but sometimes I get annoyed because it's almost like she didn't understand, like, yes, when you become famous, there's, like, it's never what you expect.
Yeah.
But there are certain things where it's like, yeah, Billboard is going to post that you fired your management. That is a literal news story. Yeah. You are one of the most famous new musicians in the world right now.
And I guess I'm like, nobody forced you to become a pop star.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm curious to see, like, what happens with her just as a person in general, but we'll see.
I'm curious how people feel about what we're saying, because I do think, like, I don't want to come across as, like, a hater, but that's just how I feel every time I see something about her.
I love Chappell Roan. Like, I love her music. I love her performances. Her music. I think she's an amazing artist. But I just think, like, she's incredibly divisive, not necessarily in a way that is good sometimes.
Yeah.
But, who knows? Yeah. We'll see where she goes with that.
Knows?
But in other news, one of the things I watched this weekend was Woman of the Hour. But you haven't watched it yet, and I'm surprised by that. You don't seem super.
I'm not interested.
And I'm curious, like.
I don't know. I'm sure it's good. I've heard it's good. I don't know. I'm just not interested.
Interesting. And so
I didn't know that Anna Kendrick directed it though.
Yeah, it was her directorial debut, I think.
Yeah.
And I think she did a really good job. So basically the plot, and there might be some kind of spoilers, but also it's like a national news story from the 70s, so like it's not really a spoiler. Fine. But it is, so Anna Kendrick's character is like a up and coming actress, and she's trying to get roles, and she goes on the dating show, or the dating game show, whatever it's called, and it's in the 70s, and, she doesn't know that one of the 3 guys is actually, like, this serial killer that has killed multiple women. I think at the end they say, like...
Yeah, nobody knew.
Yeah, nobody knew. It's suspected that he killed, like, 130 women or something.
Oh, really?
At least, like, 3 or 4 confirmed. I don't know how they're, like, getting those numbers.
Did you say 134 women?
130 women. But
and only 3 or 4 were confirmed?
Yeah, something like that. Whoa. Like something where I was like, that's a big jump.
How do you even have the time to kill 130 people?
Also, I don't know like where they were pulling that number from. I'm like, how are they like suspecting that he killed 130?
Well, they probably look at the pattern. They're like, okay, he hasn't admitted to it, but he definitely killed these people.
So I think it's really interesting because one of the things that people have said they really like about it is you can tell with Anna Kendrick's character of like how women are basically just trained to be nice and polite. And that's basically, like, even when they're uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations, like, they don't want to be perceived as, like, being difficult.
Which let me just go on a tangent for a second. It's why I get so annoyed when the stuff about, like, Harvey Weinstein, like, with the conversation surrounding Harvey Weinstein, for example, when women were, like, why didn't they say anything? Or why didn't they, like, why wouldn't they why wouldn't they just say no or whatever? To doing things like if he's like coercing them into doing things for fame or to get a role or whatever. It's like women will do literally anything to not be uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Or not to be not uncomfortable, to be not like disliked. You know, like I feel like because the thing is,
no, what I mean by that though is like to not be in an uncomfortable situation where you have to like have an uncomfortable conversation or whatever. That's what I mean. Like
to avoid like confrontation. Because I think like just and I think it's interesting because I think we both are like this, but in maybe different ways, like of just avoiding, like we don't want anyone to ever think that we are like mean or like have that perception of like, oh, like she's a bitch or she's difficult or whatever. And I definitely am like, I would easily be murdered. Like,
I would too. I think there's also that thing of like you second guess yourself too because you're like, okay, am I just overthinking this? Is this really as bad as I'm seeing it?
Yeah, because they show like she goes on like, so she can't, again, she doesn't know he's a murderer, but he does well in the game show. She picks him, they go to a restaurant afterwards, and he's very charming at first, and then he gets kind of weird, and you can tell like she tells a waitress like when he's not looking to like not bring over any more drinks or whatever, but then like he's like, well, I'll walk you to your car, and she's just like, okay, and then she gives him a fake number, and I think actually this is clever. I don't want to say clever on his part because it's awful, but he asked her later on, he was like, by the way, what was your number again? And she was like, well, I put it in your phone. He's like, yeah, I just want to make sure it's the right one. And or she was like, I wrote it down for you. They're in the 70s, they don't carry phones, but and he's like, you don't remember your phone number? So then it's like very, and you know,
always give the real number but just block them. You know?
True. Or just change the last number.
Yeah, but knowing me, I'd already forget that one number.
I would just change it to, like, the same thing every time.
Although like blocking, I mean, could you really block... this is the 70s. Could you block numbers back then?
I don't know.
Nowadays...
Block them.
Ladies, give the real number just in case that kind of thing happens, but just block them.
Yeah. But, like, it goes to show, like, you know, and she ends up... They show how, like, she ends up sleeping with her neighbor because they go on a date, or not, it's not even a date, like, they're friends, they're out at a bar, he makes a move on her, and then he clearly gets, like, angry about it, and, again, just to be, like, nice, I guess, because she doesn't want to ever come across as, like, being a bitch, she just kind of, like, sleeps with him, and she doesn't want to, and, like, I think it's very relatable to a lot of women. But I know, like, it got really good reviews. I know my friend Becca watched it. She said she wished Anna Kendrick had looked more 70s-ish, which I think is true. But I think the thing is, when you watch a lot of stuff in the 70s, they, like, really hype up, like, a lot of 70s wardrobe. Whereas, like, the 70s wardrobe isn't that crazy.
No, it wasn't, like, yeah. I also, didn't you say, was it you who told me this? Somebody told me that she actually, so the actor that plays the guy is not really as attractive as the guy in real life, apparently.
Oh, I don't know if that was me.
Yeah, so apparently there was kind of some controversy because the real life serial killer and guy was, like, apparently very attractive. And then they intentionally chose an actor that wasn't as attractive because they wanted to be like, they didn't want you to, like, focus on, like, how hot he was because he's so bad. But I'm kind of like, well, I mean, if he was attractive, that's the whole point. Yeah. That's why it was kind of easy to, like, fall for him or whatever. Yeah. So.
And I think it's, like, the whole Ted Bundy thing, too. But where, people have this conversation where they talk about, like, oh, when a guy does XYZ, it's creepy. And then it's like, well, is it when a guy does it, or is it when an unattractive guy because, like, when an attractive guy does it, and it's the same thing for women, when an attractive girl does something, it's, like, more acceptable than when an uggo does it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think it brings up a lot of, like, interesting discussions just in terms of, like, male and female interactions, because... And the thing is, it's the 70s, so everyone's super trusting, They're like, yeah, I'll pick you up in my car.
Hitchhiking,
like,
yeah.
Come sit in my house for a while and chill with me or whatever. Meanwhile, like, I see there's a hitchhiker on one of these streets every day, and I'm like, it's the same guy. And
really? I feel like I never see hitchhikers.
It's the only one I've, like, ever seen. He's there, like, every day. And I'm always just like, he must be getting rides because... he comes back.
But I wonder who is giving him rides. I know. You know what I mean? Because, like, in this day and age, like... Are people really still doing that?
Yeah. And the thing is, it would be great, like, if, we didn't have, like, serial killers or whatever. Like, great concept of, like, I need a ride. Oh, well, I'm going in the same direction. Just hop on in or whatever. The thing for me is I would not want to talk to a stranger.
I know.
That long. And also, I don't want to get killed. Like, that's honestly, like, the second fear.
The second thing.
Yeah. But, so I think it was very well done. I think Anna, like, there were some really beautiful shots. Like, she does this thing where it's kind of like a panning out, and then it'll, like, go to the next scene. It's kind of like a panning out, and you're, like, kind of seeing, like, the similarities. I will say there was some confusion for me, like, in the way the timeline jumps around. But besides that, I thought it was really good. I liked it.
So did you, because I don't actually know the real story, which I don't know if you want to, like, talk about that, but, like, did she survive it?
Yes. So basically what happened is he, like, tries to do something, like, while they're in the parking lot, and luckily, like, these people come out, and, like, he kind of sees them and he walks away. But the reason he gets caught is because his whole thing is he's a photographer, and he's apparently really good. Like, he's been featured in multiple magazines, like, he's working for, like, some kind of big newspaper, so he will find women and be like, oh, like, can I take your photo? Like, I'm a photographer. So he finds this homeless girl, and he takes her out to the middle of the desert to just, like, take photos. Again, everyone's very trusting, but she's also, like, 15 or 16, and he pushes her, like, off the side of this cliff or whatever, and I guess he must fall with her, or no, he goes down there or something, and, other things happen, but she isn't there for it, and when she wakes up, like, she's clearly, like, she's crusted in blood, but, like, she is aware of what's happened, and she has the wherewithal, like, I think this is actually very smart of her. She turns to him, she's like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, kind of, like, groggy or whatever. She's like, can we just, like, not tell anyone about this? Like, this would be really embarrassing for me. And he's kind of like, yeah, like, because, I think he's expecting her to be like, oh my God, like, freaking out. And she basically is just like, yeah, like, let's go, like, back into town. I'll get cleaned up or whatever. But, like, I just don't want anyone to find out about this because it's going to be really embarrassing for me. And what happens is, I guess that makes him trust her, and so she eventually, like, they go to this gas station, she, like, jumps out of his car and runs to the diner next door and calls the police on him. So, and he ended up testifying, or she ended up testifying, like, years later when he was up for, not appeal, parole or whatever, yeah, and they said that she basically put, like, her testimony put the nail in the coffin, like, he was never gonna get out of prison.
Yeah.
Because he was on parole, they, like, let him out or something while, like, they arrested him, and then, like, before his trial or whatever, he was out and about, and I think he, like,
killed, on bail.
He killed, like, another 2 women or something.
What?
Yeah. And there's,
how
like,
stupid are they?
And also, I think it's crazy. There's this woman in the crowd during the game show who recognizes him as the woman. He was the last person she saw with her friend who was murdered. And she's freaking out, right? But I also, like, the thing is, like, you know, I think it's supposed to be like, we never believe women, but also it is kind of crazy. Like, she leaves and her boyfriend comes and, like, sees her and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, that man killed my friend. And he's like, the guy on the dating game show right now. And she, like, tries to tell the security guard about it, and he, like, tricks her. So she's waiting for hours for the producer to come so she can be like, there's a murderer on the game show.
Yeah.
And she realized, like, he never told anyone. So she's known, like, the whole time, and she's trying to tell people, but nobody's listening. And I think the thing is, yes, I think they're trying to get at, like, we should believe women, we should understand their fears, but also that is kind of a wild thing to be like, I think that person killed someone.
Well, and also, like, you have to probably think, like, they were in the middle of filming a show, so they were probably like, I don't feel like dealing with this, like, quote unquote, like, crazy woman right now.
But I think, like, you know, her boyfriend comes back and he apologizes for, like, not believing her, and he's like, let's, like, go and talk to the police about it or whatever. But also, like, I can't imagine, like, if Chris and I went to, we always hear about, like, oh, we want to go see a live recording of Jeopardy, and I can't imagine
Chris would die.
Me turning to Chris and being like, that person's a murderer.
Chris would be like, oh, okay.
And he would be like, well, he's gonna win, so I don't know, like, he ran the category.
Interesting they have so many, like, narratives, I guess, or points of view from the movie.
Which it sometimes does kind of feel like a lot, but I think for the most part it works. Like, Anna Kendrick's character is technically the main character, but not, like, completely.
Yeah.
Like, she's honestly not even in it that much, but...
So do you think, like, because people always talk about, I remember when the Ted Bundy documentary and all that, like, the Ted Bundy craze, I guess, was happening, and I felt like everybody... I remember, like, it was Zac Efron who played him. Like, there was just, like, there's probably been multiple, but I feel like everyone thinks he's really hot, and I don't see that at all.
He's hot for the 70s. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, I'll see pictures of people who are supposed to be, like, the hottest people in the world from the 70s, and I'm just like, okay, this is clearly, like, before plastic surgery and, like,
maybe, but
Botox.
I look at him and I'm like, he just looks like a freak to me. Like, he's not like this, but I think maybe for a serial killer... You know?
Well, people loved him outside of being a serial killer. Like, that's how he got, like, killed so many women. I think he also was probably very charismatic and, like, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, speaking of angry women, though, so I watched the show Sweetpea, which stars Ella Purnell. It's on Starz, and basically, it's really good. It's not, like, as good as I thought it was going to be, but I've enjoyed it. She is, like, a young woman. She's working at a newspaper, and people keep, like, stepping all over her, like, basically not seeing her, etc. And it gets to the point, like, it starts out every episode, she's like, here's a list of people I would kill. The guy who manspreads on the bus, who pretends not to see me. Or, like, my boss who doesn't know my name and he only calls me Sweetpea, or whatever. And so it gets to the point where she, like, snaps and kills this guy, and she realizes, like, it kind of gives her this newfound, like, sense of self and power. And so it's interesting because she becomes a journalist at this newspaper, and she's, like, writing about this killer who is her.
Interesting.
So it's very funny. I think it, like, is interesting in terms of just, like, again, like, female empowerment and always wanting to be nice and whatever. I would give it a watch. It's not, like, the best show I've ever seen, but I love Ella Purnell. She's got, like, such a wild look to her sometimes. Her eyes are huge. If you don't know who she is, she was, like, the main character in Fallout. She was also in Belgravia, and she was in Yellow Jackets. I think I've actually seen her entire oeuvre of popular work.
Yeah, I've only seen Fallout, but, well, I watched the first episode.
She's got those big ol' eyes.
She does.
And sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, like, they're super pretty, but they make her look, like, in this show, they definitely make her look like kind of
crazy.
Weirdo.
Yeah. They can I feel like they can either make her look really crazy or, like, very, like, cutesy.
Yeah.
But I love watching interviews with her. She's really funny.
Oh, really? I could see that. She seems like she'd be a funny, I don't know why I was going to say funny little kid. She's a grown woman. She's
little
probably
kid.
funny little girl.
I actually don't know how old she is.
She's probably older than us. She seems like one of those people, like, the entire cast of Dairy Girls that played, like, 15-year-olds, but they were 34. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry. I was just thinking there was somebody I recently found out was only, like, there was an actress. whatever, it doesn't matter. But I was watching the show Grotesquerie, and there's an actress on there that I this whole time thought was probably like in her late 30s or something, and she's only like 25. I was like, what?
I feel like it's always either or.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
So you watched English Teacher.
Yes, I did. I think you would actually like it. So if you like Abbott Elementary, I would give English Teacher a view. It's definitely a little bit more like, not crass, but like there's, you know, they like drop F-bombs. There's like sexual things going on a little bit, but not like overtly or.
So my first opinion of the show, I haven't watched it, and I actually had a conversation with a coworker about this who felt the same, who was saying the same thing. I don't know how to put this into words, so you might have to help me if you felt this. Maybe you didn't feel this way, but I felt like it was very woke.
Yes.
And I almost felt like we were kind of saying, like, who is this for? Because to me, that didn't feel like a super realistic school. You know what I mean?
So at times it doesn't. It is very woke, but it also really does like make fun of wokeness a lot.
Okay, does it? So that's what I was wondering. Is it like making fun of it, or is it like, because again, we were kind of like, who is this for? You know, like, is it
like I think we're only on episode 3 or whatever, but there's this whole scene where one of the girls is like, oh God, because he's an English teacher. He's teaching some sort of book that has to do with disease. I can't even, Love in the Time of Cholera is what he's like teaching. And she's like, actually, like, I can't watch this because I've been recently diagnosed with a disease and it's incredibly triggering for me. And he's like, what disease? And she says asymptomatic Tourette's, which is, it's like basically, it's a made up disease where it's like you have Tourette's but you don't exhibit any symptoms.
Yeah.
And everyone in the class is like, we really need to be here for Kayla in this difficult time, and it's actually incredibly insensitive that you would try to teach this book about disease while she's going through this, and like they kind of like make fun of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think like it is very funny, I think, and like the wokeness
I guess like I was kind of worried that it would make like people who are like always complaining about wokeness like
validated.
Yeah, kind of, you know.
I don't think it makes them feel validated. I think like it makes fun of wokeness while also like uplifting it, you know. In a way that I really enjoy it. I would give it a watch, see what you think. I think it's 22 minutes. It's very like funny, quippy. And also one thing, like watching shows about teachers now is so crazy to me because again, I'm always like, wow, those are adults, you know, those are the adults. And then I like was saying to Chris, I was like, they are our age or maybe even younger, technically.
Yeah, the main character in it, I think wrote the show, right?
Brian Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah.
I think so. So it stars him.
I don't know what his name
I think he does a great job.
I always see him on Twitter because he's always like, the way that this show got made apparently was just like because of like a joke that he made or something.
Oh, really?
It was like, I don't know the full extent. I just always see him. He's like he's very online.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would give it a watch. I really like it. I think like if you like Abbott Elementary, you'll probably like this, but it is a little bit more like colorful than Abbott Elementary. But also, speaking of something colorful, Mattel recently got in trouble because they had a misprint on pretty much all of their toys, all their packaging, that like it was like the website led people to an adult website, as in like I don't know if it was like adult like an Adam and Eve type website or if it was straight porn, but
I thought it was a porn site.
That would make sense. But also like as soon as I read that I was like, yeah, but it's like www.wicked.com. I'm gonna like the word wicked, like,
can you imagine how much can you imagine what that company was going through that day? Like I read that and I was like, oh my god, like how can they even make a mistake like that? Does it not go through so many rounds of reviews?
That's what I was thinking, because this one guy, he was like a toy sales expert. I was reading an article and he was like, you know, mistakes like this get made in like packaging all the time. I'm like, this big, like the link, like, because you know they're putting the link on there to like, also they're going to be tracking like interactions or whatever. Like the link is the CTA, the link is gold, and they didn't check to make sure that their URL was correct.
I wonder if one single person got fired for this or if it was like multiple mistakes.
Someone probably got fired because they had to recall basically all of their toys.
Yeah. I It's funny, again, to bring up The Office, but it reminds me of an episode of The Office where they accidentally print paper that has, like, this watermark of, like, cartoon animals having sex or something.
Oh, that's funny.
I can't remember exactly, but it's so funny.
It
reminds me of that.
Like, it just made me laugh because, like, I'm excited to see Wicked, but it just has had so many, like, little dramas with it.
I know.
That I'm like, Barbie would never.
I walked through Target today, and I saw, like, the Wicked, like, setup, and I immediately was, like, kind of laughing in my head because I just think of, like, the Target commercials with Cynthia.
Yeah. Yeah, I just can't believe that got through. That is crazy.
It's crazy.
Entire teams of marketing, design, legal... And it went through, it takes you to a porn website? That's insane. That is so crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah. But, anyways, I put on here movie assignments. If you don't have anything, we don't have to do it.
Okay, I can, like, quickly try to think of something. It's funny because I saw this on here, and I was like, okay, I've got to think of something for her. By the way, I feel unprepared, but... fourth quarter at work, it is quite busy.
Yeah, fourth quarter in life, it feels like,
yeah,
honestly.
And so I just feel like anytime I even have a second to, like, do anything, I don't.
Oh, the same. Before you got here, I'm not kidding, I was having one of those moments, I was just, like, staring at the wall, like,
yeah,
just, like, deep within the recesses of my mind. Nothing going on. It's just literally, like, a chicken cawing.
And doing this podcast really helps, like, I feel like it really lets us be creative and just kind of, like, have this, like, creative, like...
outlet.
Outlet. But at the same time, I'm very tired.
Yes, I'm also very tired. We want to put out good
so
content
I really
for you
hope
all,
that...
But we are tired bitches.
We are tired.
Yes.
We are so tired.
We are in need of a nap.
Yeah.
Okay, so... I literally, because when we were in the movie last week, when we saw We Live in Time, I was like, oh my god, I remembered what I wanted to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Because you thought I was going to be Marie Antoinette. That is coming at some point.
Okay.
It'll be a surprise. But, you're not going to like this, but I think you will. The first 2 episodes of Fall of the House of Usher.
Okay.
I do think you'll like it for, like, a similar reason that you like American Horror Story or whatever. You know, it's like, that's 2 hours, you know, same length as a movie. And just let me know what you think.
Can we potentially give ourselves 2 weeks for this assignment?
That's fine.
Because I don't think I'll have time.
Yeah,
I won't have time this weekend, but
yeah.
Okay, I will give it a try. Yeah. The only thing that kept kind of coming up for me was, and I feel like I've already given you an assignment like this, but I was gonna tell you, I feel like, unless you've seen it, have you seen the Dark Knight movies?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I was going to tell you to watch, I guess start with Batman Begins.
Okay. Not The Dark Knight?
Well, The Dark Knight's the second one, so if you...
Are they both directed by Christopher Nolan?
There's 3. So there's okay. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises.
Are they all 7 hours?
The first one is like a normal runtime. Okay. Each one is... This is a weird fun... Again, I know a lot about these movies. Each movie is 12 minutes longer than the last one.
That's how I picture you.
Each minute, each
Sorry,
one
that
is
was embarrassing.
Sometimes I just keep talking. Each one is 12 minutes longer than the last one. So the second one is like...
It's a weird thing.
2.5 hours.
I wonder if you did that on purpose.
So you don't have to watch the second one. If you watch Batman Begins and you're just like, I can't do this,
I'll watch it.
It's fine. But The Dark Knight is like an iconic movie. I do think you should probably watch it. So.
Also, you should know, like, Chris and I were going to watch The Birds, but we've been waiting. We're like, Molly wants to watch it with us. I'm picturing it's like you with like your parents, like you're just sitting in the middle of us.
Yeah, literally. TV. I feel like that is how every Monday night is.
Oh, fun.
Actually, okay, this is really funny, but I've never felt more like Chris and Alexa were my parents than one time after the podcast. Oh. I was trying on some of Alexa's dresses that like for weddings because I was gonna wear one to a wedding. And she was like, try them on and like come and show us. And she was literally in the kitchen cooking while Chris is sitting on the couch watching football or playing a game, whatever. And I am like coming out.
1950s
I'm
household.
coming out into the living room, like trying on my dresses for them while Chris is on the couch, like, very nice. And Alexa comes out like with like a spoon like in her hand and she's like, yeah, like it's literally they were my parents.
Oh, that's
It was
nice.
so funny.
I thought you were going to say it was that time that like we made pasta, but I was like, but we have food for you. And
I that was also cute.
Forcefully, I was like, I made dumplings. Here you go.
I know. Like I was going to be like, oh, I don't, because I don't eat pasta for everybody who doesn't know. And that's what she made for dinner. So I was gonna be like, that's okay. Like, I'll probably get like food or whatever. And she was like, she literally like forced me to stay and made like me dumplings. Who's like,
eat this food.
They're like, we have other food.
Yeah.
I was like,
But anyways, okay. So Batman Begins.
I mean, The Dark Knight is so iconic. It's better than Batman Begins. So I kind of want you to get through Batman Begins and watch The Dark Knight. But if you don't, I understand.
I have no plans this weekend. I've been enjoying my viewing time. And Follow the House of Usher. Just let me know what you think. It's not my favorite of his, but you didn't like my favorite, so I think you're gonna like this one more.
I'm willing to give it a try. I will say, there's one coming out. They just announced, and
Carrie.
Well, I'm gonna watch Carrie for sure. There's another one, and it has an actor that I like in it, and so
what is it?
That's how you know that I'm in it for the actors. I don't know what it was called. It had the guy that is in. Did you ever watch Late Night with the Devil?
Yeah.
Okay, it has that guy.
Okay.
That actor. And he's in it along with the one that's always in his stuff. Like, what's her name? Katie something.
His wife?
I don't know. It's like, not Seagal, but it's something like that.
Oh, spelled different. So that's actually Mike Flanagan's wife. Isn't she always
in it? Okay.
Yeah, she's in all of his stuff. She is beautiful.
It's called Epilogue, and it's a zombie movie.
I love that.
I guess it's a movie.
I will be a completionist for Mike Flanagan. I love his shit. I want his scripts. Also, I saw the A24, which we love their scripts. You have the Midsummer one. They have the Everything Everywhere All at Once script up there now.
Cool.
I love that.
I did not like that movie.
I know you didn't.
It's such an unpopular opinion. I did not enjoy it.
My mom didn't like it either.
I did see I saw an ad for Midsummer's like script book though. And I was like, I already had it. It was actually a package. It was like a Midsummer package, and I think it came with like a bag, but that was it.
Oh, interesting. They didn't have that available.
Yeah, I'm good with the script book.
But so you finally finished Disclaimer. I know you had like
okay, yes,
thoughts.
I know I went on like a really long rant last week. I don't know if it made sense to anybody. Like listening back, like I was like, did I really make sense post snoring? But I did finish it. And I will say my prediction was accurate. It was what I thought.
You can spoil it. I don't think it got interesting reviews, so I don't know if
It did. So like I said, it was based on a book. So the book was pretty much almost the exact same. I looked it up. But basically, so like I said, this woman has been, just to give a quick recap, it's Cate Blanchett's character is being like basically stalked by this man. Her life is being ruined by this man who is the father of a boy that had died saving her son like 20 years prior. And she had an affair with him while they were on this trip in Italy. So she was like the older woman, and to the man's wife's perspective, like her kind of warped like thing of it was that she was like an older woman who was like manipulating her son. Her son was like an angel, and he didn't like, he just, whatever, inexperienced or whatever. And that was not at all the case. And again, so the disclaimer, it's called Disclaimer because there's a disclaimer at the beginning of every episode. I assume that's why it's called that, because there's a thing at the beginning of every episode that says like, this show contains strong sexual content, sexual violence, and like physical violence. And the whole show, there was none of that.
Right.
Like there was no sexual violence at all. So it was clear that like, okay, what they perceive as the truth is like not actually what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I was not even prepared for this though. The finale episode, again, okay, so spoilers, but also very strong trigger warning for sexual assault. But it turns out, because finally Cate Blanchett confronts the old man, because she's like, here's what your son actually did.
Yeah.
He like broke into her hotel room and like violently assaulted her with a knife and like threatened to kill her and her son, like assaulted her for like 3.5 hours. It was like super brutal. It was like kind of, it was pretty bad to watch. And so she tells the man that. He's just like, obviously he doesn't believe it at first.
Yeah.
His whole thing is he wants to make her feel the way that he felt. So he is trying to kill her son, who overdosed on heroin, and now he's in the hospital. So sorry, I'm like kind of going through it all. But long story short, the son is in the hospital. He's like in a coma, and the old man is trying to kill him because he wants her to feel like how he felt. So he's like, I don't believe you. He like he ends up drugging her, so she gets knocked out, and he runs to the it's like this really dramatic like chase scene. She's trying to beat him to the hospital before he can like get there, and then he realizes as he sees the son, who's like I think he reminds him of his own son. He decides, oh, I believe her now. Never mind. By the way, I think I said this before, like Sacha Baron Cohen plays the husband. Okay. He has also turned against her. No one believes her. And she never really gets the chance to kind of explain her story. Sexual assault is very complicated, so I don't blame her for not like, I don't blame the character for not wanting to tell. Because the whole thing was, so the son did actually save her son from drowning. Like, that did actually happen. But so then when he drowned, she was like, okay, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, I can just forget this ever happened. Yeah. He's dead now. But then the dad releases this book and is ruining her life. So she's like, okay, I guess I gotta like talk about it now. Right. But she was like fully just never gonna talk about it. So she never told her husband. She never talked about it at all. So anyway, so Sacha Baron Cohen's character, he's like so manipulated by this old man. He believes him over her. I actually really appreciated this at the very end. Basically, she like confronts, so they're talking, because finally the old man fesses up to everything. He tells Sacha Baron Cohen what happened. And so he's like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I'm so sorry. And she's like, I don't forgive you because you seemed more relieved that I was raped than like that I cheated on you. Like, you're more relieved by this. And so she was like, therefore, like, I can't, like, and they get a divorce. I was like, yes, I actually like really appreciated that. I don't know why. But anyway, it was interesting. It was I feel like with it all like kind of tied together, I had a better appreciation for the show, I guess. But at the same time, it was still just such an infuriating show. Yeah. Like, seeing no one believe her, I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah, like, I definitely heard like mixed reviews on it. And I think like, I don't know, it's an interesting concept, but.
It is because, again, like, so the husband also like immediately hated her for like these photos, because those photos, right? The photos, by the way, she took because she was like trying to like kind of like please him, I guess. Like, in the moment, she was like, okay, like, I'll take these photos for you, like, just don't hurt my son or whatever. And so that's where those came from. But like, because they were like, if I didn't explain that, they were like sexually explicit photos that the guy took of her. Well, so he like immediately believed this old man over his wife and was like super angry at her for like supposedly cheating on him like 20 years before, which again, I'm not defending, like, that would be very bad, but I'm just saying it just feels a little crazy that he took things to that level. And I can't explain. If you haven't seen it, like,
it's also interesting, like, I can't imagine my anger if I found out that my significant other had cheated on me like 20 years before. Would that make me angrier than if they had cheated on me like 2 weeks ago, you know? And I almost think it would, in a sense, because it's like, well, you've just kept this whole time.
So I know, and
I'm not saying that validates him in any way.
Yeah, but I guess like it's like he wouldn't even give her a moment to like explain herself, and that's what was that's why I kept saying the show was so infuriating, because it was almost like comical how like she kept trying to like she would call him, he would just like ignore her calls. He was turning their son against her, like and it was interesting, actually, because the son had, like, the old man is looking at the photos at the very end of the episode, or towards the end of the episode, and he realizes that the son, you can see the son in one of the photos. He had walked in on them. Oh. So he's been, like, the reason he hates his mom so much is he's been, like, probably doesn't even remember, but he's been, like, what do you call that? Like, compartmentalizing this. And so I thought that was interesting, and again, the acting in the show was phenomenal. Cate Blanchett is truly like probably one of our greatest actresses alive.
She is phenomenal. Her control over her face, I could never.
And she's so natural too. Like, you really, she's one of those people where it's like you feel like this is really happening, you know? Yeah. Like, this would be someone's actual reaction.
I think here's like a telltale sign of a good actor or actress is like, I honestly, personality-wise, could probably tell you nothing about Cate Blanchett.
I know.
Because she is equally
she's
different
very funny
in every role. Yeah. But, like, you never, I don't think, like, she is not, like, her drama is not in the press usually, I don't think. Mm-mm. Like, she's not really, like, a press type of person, but, like, just in her roles, she's amazing.
She is. I actually, like, she's very funny. She's very, like, animated and stuff. Humor. Yeah. But she also looks different ages in every single thing I see her in. Like, I can't tell how old she is. And I'm not going to look it up either.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But
is she 24 or 52?
Who's to say? Have you ever seen I know
we'll
you saw
never
it.
Tell.
What's the one that with Leonardo DiCaprio where it's like the climate change one? What's it called? Don't Look Up.
Oh, Don't Look Up.
She plays the journalist, the like morning the reporter.
Yes. I forgot.
She looks so different in that movie.
Yeah,
like
I
always
forgot that was her.
I know.
She also plays Galadriel in Lord of the Rings.
Yes, Galadriel, that's her name.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
She's a big character.
I know. She's great, but I think if you were to give it a watch, I think it's an interesting show for sure. Like I said, it kept my attention, and like I was very wanting to finish it.
Yeah.
But it's just, some of it feels like you're kind of like, oh, come on.
I will say, and I'm curious if you think the same thing, I feel like a lot of shows recently have like struggled to keep my attention. You know, and maybe, and I think, like, some of it is the week-to-week thing, where it's just, like, I have forgotten about this by next Wednesday. Yeah. Like, if I have to wait for the next one more than a week, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I've lost my opportunity to be watching things, because, like, you gotta get me when you get me, you know? And I also think, like, a lot of shows will have, like, this really great premise that I'll be so excited for, and I'll sit down and watch it, and I'm just kind of like, okay.
I know. Yeah. The good thing about Disclaimer was most of the episodes were already out by the time I watched it. So I only had to wait for like one episode. One show that has kept me where I'm like literally excited for the new episode every week is The Penguin, which ended last night. And I haven't watched the finale because I wanted to talk about it on here, but I didn't finish it. So.
Oh, well, I love that for you. I feel like I'm ready for Outlander to come out, but I also am not, like, as excited about it as I was the first few seasons, because the plot's kind of, you know, I mean, it's been 8 seasons or whatever.
That's a lot of seasons.
Yeah. But even, like, Sweetpea I really liked, but I'm just kind of like, you know, I'll watch it when I watch it. Even old Only Murders in the Building, which I usually every other season I'm, like, foaming at the mouth for the next episode. I was kind of like, okay, maybe that's just a me thing.
I liked this season a lot. I mean, we already talked about this, but, I will say, at first, when we did the assignments, I kind of thought you were going to tell me to watch the first 2 episodes of Outlander, and I was about to get mad.
Well, we have it on recording that even if I broke you out of jail, you wouldn't watch Outlander for me, so.
No, there's 8 seasons. There's no way I could get through that.
Just like the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, but the intention is to get me into it.
But you could get into it. I don't know. You never know.
Not 8 seasons.
I mean, that is a lot. Like, I started watching The OC randomly the other day. I just put it on and I was like,
well, it's like when we tried to get Megan to watch Mad Men, and I don't think she is gonna ever finish it. No. Shout out Megan. But I will say, like, even I was kind of like, okay, we're trying to force her to watch 7 seasons of a very, like, it's obviously a phenomenal show, one of the best shows like ever probably, but like it's very slow. Yeah, like it's a very slow paced show. So I'm like, who are we kidding?
Yeah, but I will say I was thinking earlier, like, I just need more, like, 30-minute shows. I think we've talked about this before. I don't need hour-long dramas or
I need a lunchtime show.
Yes, I need where it's like I'm working from home. Okay, I have 30 minutes to eat my lunch. I just want to put on a little show where it's not like, oh, now I got to stop it in the middle of a scene. You know what I mean? Where I'm just, why? Everything doesn't need to be an hour. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Martin Scorsese, specifically to you, every movie doesn't need to be 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
If you're going to do that, I was actually thinking about this. I was walking Poe today. I was getting angry about this randomly. If you're going to have a movie that's more than 2 hours long, put an intermission in. Some people out here are aging rapidly and need to go to the bathroom, or just like get some food or refresh, or like, you know what I mean? Like we do it in musicals or whatever, and like shows and what.
I agree with you.
And this is not just at Martin Scorsese. I think it's like a thing where they won't, like, something with the distributors, like they won't put intermissions in, and it's stupid.
Well, there's a movie coming out called The Brutalist, and it has Adrian Brody in it. It's probably going to be like an Oscar. Apparently, it's very, very good. It's like 3.5 hours long, and everybody's like, I was completely into it the entire time, and I'm like, ugh. Like, I love Adrian Brody, and I'm sure it's an amazing movie, but I'm like, I can't for 3.5 hours.
It used to annoy me because Chris, whenever we would go see a movie, he'd like look at the runtime and he'd be like, no, I'm good or whatever. And now I'm like, I kind of get it. Like,
I get it, yeah.
I understand.
The Killers of the Flower Moon, I don't think I could ever watch again just simply for the runtime. Yeah. Well, I have watched it again, but still, like,
I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I think we reviewed it on this podcast.
Yeah,
we talked about it. But I'm just like, that could have easily been about 30 to 45 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
Or make it a series. Then you could have really gotten in depth. Like, I feel like some things were shortchanged that I'm like, we could have really gotten into. But instead, now, like, it was so long.
It's so long to sit in a theater for.
To sit in a theater for that long? I don't know. But speaking of movies that were great, I watched My Old Ass.
Yeah.
That sounds like I
watched My Old Ass
at my butt. The movie's called My Old Ass, and it stars, excuse me, Aubrey Plaza and
Maisie Stella.
Thank you. Crap, I literally wrote down their names.
It also stars
Percy Hines White,
and it also stars as a Dance Moms fan. It also stars Maddie Ziegler.
Oh,
I don't know who she played. I don't know. I just know she's in it.
Oh, I think maybe she's one of the friends.
Not sure.
I don't know. But basically, I thought it was such a good movie. So basically, it's like, it kind of reminds me almost of like a little, like, not 17 again, but one of those things where, you know, the Maisie's character is turning 18. Her name is Elliot, and she...
What's wrong? Oh my gosh.
She woke up from it. She's probably hungry. So...
What's wrong? She's really scaring me.
But so Maisie's character the name is Elliot, and Aubrey Plaza's character also plays Elliot, but an older version. So it's Elliot's 18th birthday, and her and her friends do shrooms in the woods, and a vision of Aubrey Plaza... Is it Audrey or Aubrey?
Aubrey.
Christ, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. What is wrong with me? Aubrey Plaza comes to her and is basically, like, telling her, like, yeah, like, I'm you when we're 39, and they have this really, like, nice interaction, and she gives her, like, some advice where she's like, spend some more time with your family, like, you know, spend, like normal advice, but she also says, like, stay away from anyone named Chad. And then, of course, the next day, like, Maisie meets this guy named Chad, and she's like, oh, something must be wrong with him, but, like, Aubrey Plaza's character didn't tell her why. And so Aubrey Plaza, during the shroom trip, her character put her phone number into her younger self's phone, and she ends up calling it, and she's like, I didn't think this would work. And so the thing is, they never explain the science behind it, and they don't need to. Like, that part is not important, but it is a very, like, funny, witty, emotional, and intelligent film, where it's about kind of just, like, reflecting on time going past, and Aubrey Plaza's character is just like, the years go by so quickly and you just don't even realize it. And, you know, things where she's like, you know, she's living on her parents are cranberry farmers, and she's trying to leave the whole time. And Aubrey Plaza's character is like, you just don't realize, like, how simple things are and how nice that is. And I think it's just a really well done movie. But also, one of the things I love, so Aubrey Plaza is clearly, like, so it takes place now, but Aubrey Plaza is in the future, like 20 years or whatever. And so whenever you call her, you can tell, like, there's some weird climate change stuff going on, because, like, she'll be on the phone and suddenly you'll just hear the sound. People are like, basement, get to a basement, or whatever. And she's like,
terrifying.
She's like, I've got to call you back. Or, like, she says, like, oh, is Dad making salmon tonight? Enjoy that while you can, while there's still salmon, or something like that. So, like, and they never get into that either, which they don't need to. But I think it's really, like, the guy who plays the love interest, so it's a whole thing where young Elliot it starts out, she's a lesbian, and she's like, you know, I found, like, this girl in my dreams, like, I'm making out with her, why don't I feel anything? And it's because she really has a connection with this guy named Chad. And the whole movie, you're trying to figure out, why did Aubrey Plaza tell her not to hang out with this guy Chad, who, if you don't know who he is, he literally, again, I think you would like him. He looks like the kind of guy you would paint. He was in that show Wednesday, but he's just, like, a really nice, like, lovely guy. And do you want me to tell you any spoilers? Like, are you gonna watch it?
Probably not.
So this is a spoiler for it, but so basically what it is like, young Elliot can't keep herself away from Chad, and she eventually, like, she sleeps with him, and she tells, like, older Aubrey Plaza, like, oh, I can't do it, like, I just, whatever. And they get into this fight, and she's like, what's so wrong with Chad? And Aubrey was like, I didn't want to tell you because, like, it's going to just mess up your whole life. But she's like, there's nothing wrong with Chad. Chad dies. He dies in a way that is horrible. You can't, like, stop it. You can't fix it. And it's going to be, like, it's going to mess you up for the rest of your life.
Oh my God.
And it's kind of this thing where it's like, is it better to have loved and lost than not to have loved at all? And
grief is a privilege.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, that's what young Elliot basically says. She's like, no, like, being young and being stupid and taking risks, like, that's what it's about. Like, if you don't take any risks, then you're not going to live. And she's like, I'm going to be with Chad for as much time as I have. And I think what's interesting is, like, Aubrey Plaza never tells her when Chad dies, how he's gonna die, or anything, which me, anxiety-ridden, would be, like, thinking about that every day with him.
I know.
But it's just, it's a really touching movie. Well, I guess I've just spoiled it for you, but I highly recommend it. But yeah. Oh, but so that brings us to our question of the week. So I asked, and again, if you want to participate in our question of the week every week, it is follow us on Instagram at Poppin Podcast. We post it every week. You can also see our out of context posts, all those fun stuff. But this week I asked, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I feel like I try not to have like regrets or anything, but
no regrets tattooed on your chest.
Mine is pretty simple. It's not really like that deep, but I feel like I would tell my 18-year-old self to just like, I feel like I wish I had asked my mom to teach me more like home stuff, you know what I mean? Like whether it was just like cleaning, you know, just like things like that, cooking. I feel like I wish I had more, like I wish I had paid attention more to that at 18. Or when I was younger. Like I wish I had like, I think I would tell my 18-year-old self that. I
think I would tell my 18-year-old self that the opinion of men, especially young men, whether it's on your body or on just society in general, is almost always incredibly stupid and should not, like, direct your life, how you view things, or yourself at all.
Yeah.
I think about myself at 18 years old, and, like, the amount that I was just like, oh, like, I think about, like, did you guys do the thing where fraternities, they would nominate someone where they would be like the diamond or the rose, and how that was such a big deal. Like, everyone wanted that, but no one cared. Like, I was in Kaya, we had a thing called Kai Guy.
Yeah.
Guys were not, like, throwing themselves to be in that position. And I think about that now, where it was like, if someone got nominated, like, diamond or whatever, we'd all be like, oh, like, fuck her, like, we'd be so jealous or whatever. And it's like, why do we care that this whole fraternity of boys essentially just thought that they were hot?
Yeah.
Why? Like, I think about that all the time. Or just, like, the things that just, like, I think are ingrained in a misogynistic society that even now I'm still, like, you know, I think about, I participate in.
Yeah.
But I think I have more of an awareness to. The second thing I would tell myself, it's two things because I couldn't decide which was worse. Do not get the Nexplanon arm implant. I got that arm implant and it messed up my body. And, you know, some people love it. Some people love that implant.
Yeah.
I would not recommend it. It really, and it is not easy to get out. It is so hard. It messed me up. Like, it permanently messed up my body for like a long time.
I'm really lucky that I had a doctor that told me not to do that.
Yeah.
And some people, like you said, some people do live by it and they've had nothing but good experiences with it, but I feel like more often than not, and I feel like most doctors will say, like, it's not the way to go.
No, I would not recommend it. I mean, I gained like 40 pounds in 4 months. It was awful. I was in so much pain. But anyway, so that's
a good one.
Yeah. But I think we had a couple people respond to us online.
Yeah. So Matthew, my husband Matthew, said, don't stop being a lifeguard. It's way easier.
That's good advice, yeah.
We were both lifeguards together. And I will say, like, honestly, the pay, for where we worked.
Yeah. The benefits, though.
But we worked at a location that I feel like is not, like, we had except for when I worked at Water Country. For the most part, as a lifeguard, we had pretty sweet jobs.
Yeah.
And so I think we both look back on that and we're like, damn. Imagine if we were just still doing that.
Yeah.
Eric said, nothing in life is that serious.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
And Cordy said, you are so much more capable than you think you are. Don't hold yourself back.
Wow, that's very
good advice.
Deep.
Yeah, very deep.
Yeah.
I know. I try not to. I mean, I have like obvious ones. I feel like where I'm just like, oh, like you're, you know, don't be afraid or whatever. But I'm like,
take your makeup off before falling asleep.
Oh, I was younger than 18, so never mind. I was gonna say take your contacts out every night, because when I was in high school, I had an incident where I wore my contacts for like days straight and my eyes got very infected, and I was so lucky to not have like a permanent issue. But I was in high school then, so the question was 18.
I would also like say, you know, like take some more naps and also like really appreciate your classes and learning things. Like, it is a privilege to learn. And yes, college is fun, and I would not deny anyone that fact. I had a great amount of fun. But I also wish I had taken more advantage of the fact that I'm learning cool shit every day.
Yeah.
I guess, like, speaking of horrible men in general, I feel like that's been kind of the topic of this episode. So I think he's a country singer, Zach Bryan.
Zach Bryan, yeah.
And Brianna Chickenfry have been...
Which, that's her name? For real?
I think her name is something else, because when I saw it was, like, Brianna, quotations, Chickenfry, and then it was, like, Legoli or something like that. So I don't know, but it was one of those things where I remember when I said Florence Pugh to Chris, and he was like, white people are just coming up with names. And I saw someone tweet that about her name.
Yeah.
But so he's a famous country singer. She is very famous for being on, like, the BFF's Barstool podcast.
Mm-hmm.
They were dating for the past year or so, and they've had kind of a huge blow up in terms of they broke up, and she essentially came out and, like, really just opened up about their relationship. And I think, like, some people have had some thoughts on it, but I think the thing is, and she'll say, she's like, it's not some horrible relationship, or, like, it's not some horrible story, but it also is not just, like, a normal breakup.
Yeah.
So I listened to, she did a whole, like, hour and a half long episode on her podcast where she talked about it, and basically it just sounds like he was incredibly emotionally abusive. Like, one of the things that stands out, and this was, like, just a tangential story, she's like, oh, I almost forgot to mention this, was she was walking up to, like, their shared apartment, and she had a song stuck in her head, and it was someone else's song, and she was like, he flipped out, and it was like a days-long fight where he was like, I can't believe you would be singing another man's song around me.
Oh my God.
And so basically it was like, she gave up, you know, not her whole life, because she could still podcast and stuff, but she went on tour with him for a year, and she was like, you know, we were making, like, video diaries to show our future children, and, like, we had this whole life together. And then she was supposed to go on tour, and originally he was supposed to come with her, but he backed out. And then, you know, basically he just kind of essentially ghosted her from a year-long dedicated relationship where they lived together, you know, where he just kind of, like, stopped talking to her, and then was like, oh, yeah, I don't think this is working. And she was like, what? And her whole thing was, she was like, I just wanted some sort of apology or explanation, instead of basically him saying, I don't think this is working. And then, like, he was on Raya, like, a few hours later, and people were like, hey, messaging her, like, hey, your boyfriend's on Raya. And then he ended up posting an Instagram post about them breaking up to get ahead of it. And then she was like, I hadn't even told my family, I hadn't told my friends, like, people are just seeing online.
God.
And so it was also this whole thing where, like, it just, again, he just sounds like a prick. Like, she talks about, like, he rented out this house for her and her family and her friends for her birthday. And leading up to it, the whole time he was complaining about having to come down to spend time with her on her birthday. And she was like, well, you don't have to. She was like, honestly, I kind of didn't want him to at this point, because it was always something. Yeah. It was always going to be, and she was like, I wanted to enjoy my birthday. So he came down, he enjoyed it, and she was like, he spent it with her, and she was like, you could tell he started drinking, they're standing around the fire, and he's already, like, kind of being aggressive towards, like, her friends and her family, basically, like, alluding to, like, saying things where it's like, you'll never amount to anything, like, whatever. Yeah. And so then she was like, I had planned to stay up till midnight when my actual birthday was, but at 11:30 I was like, okay, I need to get him out of this situation. So I was like, I'm gonna go to bed. And she asked him to go with her, and he didn't. And she was like, about an hour and a half later, I woke up to just, like, sounds of screaming where he was just, like, yelling at her family and friends, like, across the fire, like, just absolutely trashed. And so another big thing about it is, I guess, like, whoever I know she's, Dave Portnoy's on the podcast with her, and I forget the other guy. They came out with, like, a diss track against him, which I guess Zach Bryan's fans have been, or not fans, like, PR team have been trying to take down, but people, I think, have really liked it. But he basically, like, kind of cut them off and said that he called them, and I do not, like, support using this words, but he called them retarded. And, like, basically he was doing, like, very stereotypical toxic relationship behavior of separating her from her friends and her family, and isolating all the things. And it was clear, like, he wanted her to do things for him when he was being successful. He was not willing to make any compromises or change anything about his life for her success. Yeah. Which is very interesting. And there's also, like, and I find toxic, again, we talked about this with Tell Me Lies, but toxic relationships are, like, very interesting to me, because I've, you know, had been in a few. Not my current one, I should clarify. Lovely relationship I'm in currently. But where she was at, I want to say it was, like, the Golden Globes or something. She was wearing this dress. It was apparently a perfectly normal dress. I haven't seen it. but he flipped out and was like, I cannot believe that you are wearing that, like basically calling her a slut, whatever, and like made her take down the picture of it. But then later he posted a picture of it being like, look at how beautiful she is. So it's things like that where you're like the whiplash of it all.
Yeah,
and like
emotional whiplash.
Yeah, so, and a big thing is he offered her, once they broke up and, you know, stuff was happening, he offered her like a $12 million NDA to not talk about their relationship. And Dave Portnoy brought up a good point where he's like, that's a lot of money for like, what are you hiding?
Right.
You know, like, is it all about your image? Like, you just don't want people to know that you're an asshole? Like, $12 million? That's kind of crazy. And she admitted, she was like, you know, I debated taking it. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And she was like, but in the end, I was like, no, like, I can't be bought off. Like, the way you treated me, the things you did were awful. And so I think there's been kind of like back and forth where people think maybe like she shouldn't be airing all of this on the internet, but also like, I want to know if people are shitty people. I want to know.
Yeah, many people talk about him too. Again, this is somebody, I mean, I don't care about country music at all. So this is like a name I know, but I couldn't separate him from like other country singers.
I'll be honest, when I first heard about this, I thought they were talking about Luke Bryan.
Luke Bryan, yeah. I get them all confused, I'll be honest. I couldn't tell you one song, but I have heard, you know, during all this drama that he, like, a lot of people have stories about him being a prick.
Yeah.
Apparently he also, so Dave Portnoy has a dog named Miss Peaches, and apparently he was like, and another thing was he kicked Miss Peaches out of his dressing room.
It was like they brought, for one of the shows, they had, like, Brianna and had a dog, I guess, and so did Dave, and he brought Peaches into the room, and he, like, was so angry about this when I was listening back to it. Dave Portnoy, I have a lot of feelings on him. I don't necessarily enjoy him as a person, but he does seem like he could be like a very loyal friend.
It's funny because I don't want to say I do. I feel like I've always like enjoyed his like videos, but as a person, I'm not going to speak on that because I think whatever. But
Barstool as a whole, especially what it was when we were in college. I think I mentioned this like one time. I like commented on like a photo. It was like girls literally, it was like they were just pouring beer like down their tits or something like that, and I was just like, I said like, this is like
did you get like attacked or something?
Yes, like the things that men said to me, which granted it was Barstool. I was putting myself out there, but all I said was, I was like, this is offensive to women. And because it was something crazy where it was like, oh, when you go to college or something like that, and it was just like girls like pouring beer down their dress or their like cleavage or something. But like, I just said, oh, this is offensive to women. The things that, like, these random internet men said to me were insane. I was, I don't know, 19 years old, and I was just like, oh, unfollow. I was like, I'm good on this content.
Yeah. I've always loved his, like, pizza reviews. That's specifically what I've always watched. Other than that, I couldn't really tell you that much, you know, about his content, or I've always been aware of the podcast, but I've never, like, I don't care about it.
Yeah.
But it has been interesting to see. Again, I didn't really know that much about Brianna Chickenfry, but I think I've heard that he doesn't seem like a great guy.
Yeah, and she seems like perfectly like lovely, normal, you know, and she admitted, she's like, the thing is when you're in those situations, she said something where it's basically like, you don't realize like that you're not getting the love that you deserve, and it just you're being manipulated.
Well, and his fame could have also, you know,
and that's what she said. She was like, when they started dating, it was basically like they met, and she was just like, you know, he's this famous guy who is saying like after 2 weeks that he loves you and that you're his soulmate. Yeah. Which, again, she was like, I recognize now, huge red flag of love bombing. But at the time, like, you're caught up in it, you know, and you're just like, wow, this is so romantic. And then when they start being kind of like not as nice to you, I think the thing with toxic relationships, you're always trying to like, you're always pedaling to get back to that like niceness of that affection or whatever, because it feels so good when you're in their sunlight and so bad when you're not. Yeah. But I think it's good that she came out and talked about it, and I listened to the whole hour and a half long. The way they did it was very interesting, where it basically was like, it was a cold open of her just talking about her relationship, and she explains everything that happens, and it sounds almost like someone's asking her questions, but you can't hear them, so it's just her. And then they like kind of cut to a commercial or something, and they go back and they're like, yeah, so that's the interview we recorded before when we weren't sure if we were going to release this. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, so I think to summarize this episode, yay women, boo men. women. Power to the women.
But also, can't wait to find out who's sexiest man alive tomorrow.
And you know what? That also is power to the women. Let's put some men on a magazine cover and objectify them.
Yeah, which we have for years, but this isn't a new thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever. But anyways, I think that's all we have for you this week. Right?
Yes. We are done.
But as always, like I said, follow us on Poppin' In Podcast on Instagram to see our posts and our or our question of the week. And rate, review, rate us well. If you didn't like this episode, don't rate us at all. Don't rate us,
yeah.
We'll see you on the flip side.
Walk away.
Yeah, just walk away. But if you did, we would love that. And we'll see you next time. Bye.